Welcome to Living from the Inside Out with Holly Wade. Living from the Inside Out is about living fully, guided from your inside. Holly shares the wisdom of how your mind, body, and spirit are truly connected and that you deep down know your own answers. Holly and her guests will provide tips, practices, and inspirational stories to help you approach your life from your own heart. And here's Holly.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Denise Joy Thompson, and I'm the CEO, founder of Global Voice Radio. Today, I'm talking with Holly Wade, CEO of Holly Wade Wellness. Holly is a host with Global Voice Radio, and her show is Living from the Inside Out. And Holly's show will be airing on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern. So Holly, I'm so excited to be talking with you today and to discuss the launch of your show.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to do this. I'm excited. This is going to be fun.
You know, and you mentioned the word fun, and one of the things that I thought about when I started to create in my mind the concept of Global Voice Radio is that I wanted it to be fun. I mean, not only would it be part of my business plan, but I wanted it to be fun, and I wanted the hosts to bring in topics and share information with their audiences that would make their life fun. And so I'm really glad that already you mentioned that word because that's near and dear to my heart, that we have fun in life no matter what we're doing.
Amen, sister.
Before we talk about the show, I want to talk about you. And so what I'm going to do is just share some information about you, a short bio, and then I truly want you to add to it, to really make sure that we are sharing who you are and what you are bringing to the show, what you're bringing to Global Voice Radio, and what is going to be shared globally around the world. So my understanding is that you are a mind, body, spirit coach. You have a master's degree in higher education, and you have over 2 decades of experience in fitness and wellness.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I know about you is that your personal story really is one of the foundational reasons that you went into the health and wellness world. And we'll talk about that more a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
One of your passions is to help women embrace their whole self and live vibrantly. And so that the next generation, which we do need to leave things for the next generation, we need to help them become healthy, productive adults. But you want the generation of today to help the generation of tomorrow. And
Absolutely.
And some things that describe you. You're a true seeker, a change agent, a student, a teacher, a creative soul, a traveler, and an inspirational motivator. And everything that you do is tied to spiritual growth.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well,
I'm hiring you for my marketing.
Well, you know, I appreciate a little bit help from you. And then, you know, of course, in researching you as a host for Global Voice Radio, you know, I looked at your Facebook and I looked at things that you're doing, and you truly are living what you are teaching others. You are truly taking your own advice. And I think when we have a platform to help others, and one of the things that you look at is holistic health, right? The whole person concept.
Yep.
And you are living that yourself.
Well, I think in time, I think in my career path, personal and professional path, I've learned that we can't compartmentalize who we are. Like, yes, we have a physical body, but our emotions play into that. If we don't get enough rest, that plays into our emotions. And it all comes down to that soul. If our soul does not feel alive, we wear that. It all interrelates. And I feel like I've kind of gotten to a solid place of understanding that.
So let's talk a little bit about your personal journey, because spiritual and physical growth is so important to you today. You have spent years of your life working on yourself and helping others to work on themselves. Yeah. So talk a little bit about what is your personal experience with both spiritual and physical growth.
Okay. I'm just going to take it back to pretty early on. I always have been a spiritual person. My mom tells the story of 4-year-old me getting on the table at Dairy Queen and singing Jesus Loves Me to the whole restaurant. So, it's just kind of always been a natural part of who I am, and a curiosity of how does this soul interrelate to the rest of this world? So it's just kind of a base that has always been there. Now, the physical part, I grew up being an athlete in high school and those things. It was in college that I became really curious about it. That's when I fell into fitness, and literally fell into it. And I was studying marketing and advertising at the time, and that just felt a bit manipulative. I'll just put it that way. It didn't feel very honest for me. It was, kind of pushing people to products or services that I didn't really want to. And I thought, I don't want to do this. But when I was teaching Group X, there was a day that it hit me, and I was like, I'm doing that right here, right now. I'm showing people that they can have a better life through their physical well-being. And so it kind of was an outside in approach. And, that's a different piece of my story too, because that also led to some body image issues and some things that many of us deal with, especially in our 20s. That's a part of biology. And that was when I was starting to have symptoms of some digestive issues and some things that were going on that, quick weight loss, that I wasn't doing anything different. And just some other things that just physically tired all the time and not really having a strong explanation for it. And what that led to was a diagnosis of Crohn's disease. So that diagnosis came in 2002. So 15 years of knowing what was going on, but starting to seek that out before that. And in the process of trying to heal, I didn't want to just go medical. I'd seen that with my dad's experience. He has Crohn's too. And I'd seen him be a guinea pig for, the latest medication and how much it actually broke his body down. And I thought, I want to try different. So I sought out some alternative ways of taking care of my body, and had to dive in, from that full emotional wrestling with being an emotional stuffer and holding my stress in my gut, quite literally. Learning how to eat differently, because while I was following the low fat, no fat diet at the time, it was actually creating more harm for my body. So while I thought I was doing something good, it actually wasn't. So there were just a lot of things that I had to unlearn and relearn, and it took time. It took time with each thing. And that's when I started teaching yoga, and not doing the hit it hard kinds of workouts like kickboxing and cycle. and started moving more towards Pilates and yoga, taking on meditation, which also kind of fed into that spiritual development and growth.
Mhm.
And then, of course, the dance piece. I'm a dancer. So I also, Groove found me. There's a dance program called Body Groove that you can find on the internet. And it found me. And I was one of their first facilitators and now a master trainer for that. So you see a lot of those posts as well because it's just fun. So that's kind of what brought me around to where I land now. And the critical turning point for me was 3 years ago. My health was taking a big nosedive south. And no matter what I was doing, I could not get that to turn around. Now, life at that time, if you understand a wellness wheel, you've got your physical, emotional, spiritual, social, all these parts that make up your total well-being. Every single one of those was stressed. So no wonder my body was like, girl. And when you're a single person and you have, your health insurance, your benefits, your salary depends only on you, you don't feel like you can take the time out you need for your health. And even though I understood that I needed that time out, I was in my own way taking these steps to be able to give myself that and to set my staff up for that takeover point as best as I could. So what happened was I came home. My family lived in Nebraska. I was living in Virginia at the time. I came home and it was Thanksgiving, holiday season. And my family was pretty much in shock when they saw me because I was fully emaciated, like ribs showing. I'm not a big person anyway. And when my body wasn't absorbing and I couldn't hold food down, wasn't pretty. So I went back to my job, to my workplace, which was at a university, and gave my notice. And left at the end of the semester, moved all my stuff back to Nebraska, ended up in the Eating Recovery Center for treatment because when you're that emaciated, I knew this, when you're that emaciated, you need experts who know how to refeed a body. And I honestly I really thought, is there more going on? I thought that the eating disorder maybe was a reality as well. Who knew? Right. But I got the treatment that I needed holistically, like medical, counseling, physical, everything that I needed. So it was 4 months in the hospital. When I got there and they did their initial workup, my doctor said, "You got here just in time." And what I know for sure, that was the turning point. And I'm going to start crying. I can feel the tears. That was the turning point. I know that all of those things I had been doing, trying to de-stress, feeding myself what I could, giving my body the supplementation that it could absorb, all those things did help my body to get to that point. So it had what it kept me going until I could get to that place of help. I also know there's a reason I'm here. I don't know what it's supposed to feel like to be on your deathbed, to know that death is inevitable for you at that point. I don't know what that feels like because I never felt that. I never felt this like, okay, this is it. I just felt like, all right, I have help. But I know that I'm here for a reason. And that last piece of fear for me, because I knew that this is what I wanted to do, what I needed to do and what I was being led and called to do. Because being a single person, like I said, the security of benefits, the security of a continual paycheck and knowing what's coming in, I didn't know how I was going to do that. And that last piece of fear, it was like, what do I have to be afraid of? Like, I am living out my biggest fear right here, right now. Having surgery, being this close to the other side, not that I'm afraid of death, but I wasn't ready for it quite yet. Like, I still got a lot of life. But just being at that place, it was like, those are my biggest fears. So if I, quote, fail at trying this and keep learning and keep growing, it's all going to be okay. And it's all worked out, clearly. I mean, because this is what I'm getting to do. And just the resources that I've needed, the support from family, the support from other entrepreneurs, other people, everything that I've needed has shown up.
In an earlier conversation that you and I had, we were talking about flow. We were talking about the universe brings us what we need, even though it might not be what we think we need, right? And when we're open to seeing it, when we're open to what is flowing in, and how now do I react to that? How do I now change my flow, change my direction? And it sounds like you were able to do that with the help that you received, and seeing that was your new flow. What did the universe bring in at the right time?
Yeah.
That you needed it. And I've had other people in my life who have had Crohn's, which is a very debilitating disease, as you talked about. And so it is important that people who have dealt with it, who have found ways to live a vibrant life, and you talked about that's one of the things that you want to do, is helping women to live vibrantly. And that is what you are doing, to give hope, to be an example, to show when you allow something to flow in and you work with it instead of against it, then life sort of begins again. It sounds like that.
Absolutely. It does. And I think one of the commonalities of anyone with a chronic illness or any diagnosis, initially you think, well, I really am flawed. Something must really be wrong with me. And when you don't have the energy to live, then it messes with your mind. Now, when I came to terms with, and I think that was the big thing. Here we go. That was an aha moment. Part of it with having surgery was there was no more denying. There was no more like, okay, I'm going to be the poster child for natural healing, or I'm going to be this. It was like, no, here are your intestines.
Right.
Here's the reality. And you don't have to be imprisoned by that. Regardless of what happens down the road, there are other ways that I can still give to this life and really live this, contribute to humanity. Even if it's through writing, if that's the energy that I have, if that's all I can do, there are still ways to contribute. And I think that's the big thing, is when people can realize that, yeah, I have this thing. It doesn't have to define me. It's a part of the deal. I'm going to have to manage my energy. I'm going to have to navigate some things and rework some things, but I can still be vibrant. I can learn how to work with it.
And I think that you are especially an example of living vibrantly because of what you do. I mean, you are a
Mm-hmm.
health and fitness instructor. You're a master trainer. I mean, you show how, and yes, you probably maybe need to schedule things a little bit differently than someone who does not have a chronic disease. But you probably, and I'm not going to, take my own life as an example, but you're probably more active than a lot of supposedly healthy people. Okay, I got to get exercising more.
That's probably true.
So the fact that you are living what you are teaching, as I said earlier, even if it's not 150%, as most of us would like to think that we're going to be healthy and work out, you're showing what anyone can do, even if there is something in your life that is not optimal. It's physical or mental, because we both know mental health gets in the way of being healthy also.
Absolutely.
So it is that combination. It is so important to be everything.
Yeah. Well, what I find fascinating, one of the things that I learned in my process of trying to heal my body is the mind-body connection. And that knowledge was deepened and reinforced through yoga and Pilates and all these other things that I was doing and learning and teaching. But it's true, when we don't deal with our emotions, they will place themselves somewhere in your body until it gets attention. So like I said, for me, I hold stress in my belly. For some people, it's in their neck and shoulders, which means they're literally carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders.
Yes.
So it's really funny. The body doesn't lie. And that mental piece, your body is telling you, it's guiding you to that mental space of what you can course correct.
Yes. And we just need to be open to listening, which as human beings, that's always high on that learned scale, right? Listen.
Yeah.
And then act with what we learn.
Yeah.
So tell me about starting Holly Wade Wellness. Tell me about your business.
So as you said, it's holistic in its approach. And I recently, as in just a couple days ago, changed my title to Mind, Body, Spirit Coach. Suggested by a friend. She's like, this is really what you do. And I'm like, you are so right. So it just sounds, it sounds a little more defining and anchored than holistic health, because I think people still feel maybe a little woo-woo with the word holistic, and it's becoming the latest buzzword. So I think it can be misinterpreted, but it really is looking at the whole self. And it's taken me a while to figure out how do I package this? Because I'm knowledgeable in so many facets, because they all intertwine. Well, this is really it. And the way I coach is, if we do one-on-ones, we start with that mind-body connection, what's going on in your body, because that's going to tell us what we need to work with and work through. And then we move from there. We create your plan. And then the next time we're going to do the same thing. What's your body saying? Because your body's not going to lie. And my goal is to teach people to really trust this, to trust their body's wisdom for themselves. We've just never been taught how to. We've been taught about our bodies, but we've never been taught to trust, understand our bodies. And I think that's where there's a lot of power. When you listen to that gut response, when you listen to your heart, you're not going to get it wrong. When we start to use our minds to override those initial nudges, that's when we get into trouble. We've all been in those dating relationships, and we were like, yeah, I had the red flags, but I didn't listen, as one example, as a very practical example of how that works and looks. So ultimately, my philosophy is the most important thing you can ever master is yourself. And I just am a guide to start to get you there, so that you start to know and trust you.
Right. Well, one of the things that I noticed when I was looking at you, learning more about you than what I had already known. And you do use the word you and your in your messaging. I mean, sometimes we do that because we want to connect with our client and our audience. But I noticed, and my interpretation was that you had a deeper meaning behind when you use those words.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, when I started, I was using we, and including myself. And it's really, when I flipped it to being you, it was really about taking people to self-examine. Because with we, it can still be like kind of more still on the outside. It's a little safer. But when it's directed and I'm saying, Denise, then you're going to go inward a little bit more. And like I said, it's all about, my intention is always to hold a mirror. It's generally what I post. When I post something, it's because it's a lesson that either I learned at some point or am going through or am re-going through. To something in my own personal life as well. And I just think that you, by using the word you, it creates a little different connection, a little different reflection, and a little different guidance for the reader.
Right. And I think that a person, when they read it, like you said, they have that connection and they can personalize it, and they can also then own it. And I think oftentimes we aren't encouraged or supported to own, because it's difficult to own. The things that you've already shared about your own life, it's difficult for a person to own that.
Yeah. I love that you said that. Yeah, I think it is. I think it's really hard for us to be honest with ourselves, to be completely honest with ourselves, because we'll tell ourselves all the half-truths that we want to just kind of soften the blow, so to speak, is still a lie. And we'll give ourselves excuses, we'll give ourselves reasons, we'll give ourselves everything. Like, that's not me. Ooh, I relate, but that's not me. But when we start to own our own darkness, so to speak, as well as our own light, that's honestly where that wholeness and that healing comes in. When we are willing to say, I'm sorry, when we're willing to be more vulnerable, when we're willing to let those tears come up and show them instead of just stuffing them down, like I just did a little bit ago. That's where the bravery comes from. Brene Brown talks a lot about that.
Well, and I think another thing that you said is so important. If we don't accept, acknowledge, embrace our darkness, then we can't have light.
Exactly.
If we're denying the darkness, we really have to deny everything. And whatever light is showing probably isn't the true light, because we're denying another part of ourselves. So to have true light, true health per se, you have to look at the dark spots, right? We have to look at Crohn's. We have to accept our cancer. We have to accept the depression, whatever diagnosis or limitation, disability we may have. It's owning that, figuring out, what does this mean as part of my life, but not my whole life.
Yeah.
And then we, our spirit can really come out. But that mind and the body, if we're denying any part of that, then our spirit, our soul, that true light can't.
You just nailed it. That was a sermon right there. That was good.
Well, you were the inspiration with your initial words. So, and one of the things that I've truly enjoyed in our conversations in the past is some of the similarities or the foundational concepts that we have in common. And I just truly enjoy that. And I am excited for your show. living from the inside out. And let's talk about that. Let's talk about your show. Let's talk about how you are going to share your light, because you've dealt with a lot of your time and accepted support and help to put that into a perspective. And so you are shining, and you have this enormous, abundant light. You're going to be sharing that globally with your audience, with the world. So let's talk a little bit about that and talk about the meaning, the title that you've chosen for your show.
Yeah. You literally gave me goosebumps. So that's good. That's a cool thing. That's a cool feeling. And so exciting. So, you know, when we go inward, when we live from this place of joy and abundance and gratitude and even sorrow, even those things inside of us, it shows up on the outside. It shows up on our body. It shows up in our face. It shows up in our life. And so let me just give a little kind of example to clarify. So in the physical body, we can go do as many crunches as we want, do as many squats as we want to get that hard body, that six pack, that whatever it is that we desire. You can do all the supplementation. You can go on whatever diet that you want in order to try to create this, quote, perfect body, whatever that is in your own mind and definition. Mm-hmm. So you go after it, you get it, and you're still unhappy. So how sexy is that really? How attractive is that really? And yet, if we would flip it and move from that place where we can learn to be content, regardless of the circumstances around us, learn to be in joy, regardless of what's going on in our life, because I believe we can still be joyful and sad. You can't be happy and sad, but you can be joyful regardless of what's going on. And when you start to figure out, when you start to spend time developing those things inside of you, because it takes time, intention, and attention to develop those skills and habits, because they are. And you start to live that, people notice. That's what's attractive, and that's what pulls you into someone. That's what people find sexy. That's what people actually find inviting, you know? And so that's really what we're going to be, those are the kinds of people we're going to be talking to. Those are the kinds of exercises and activities that we're going to be bringing to light so that we develop this muscle of those inward things that can spill out in these aspects of our lives.
You know, and one of the things that you talked about when you bring up the word exercise, because it is creating a different habit, a different that we do. You know, as a therapist, I am great at helping other people with their lives, you know, and then I'll have my own little moment and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I need to do this exercise, right? This is what I teach my clients and patients. Let me do this mind exercise, right? Let me change my mindset. Let me utilize this, because my mind might have gone down the wrong path because of what I've learned in the past, right? What we as humans, what was your old habits to change to the new habits? So exercising our mind, exercising our how we react to things is so very, very important. And you mentioned, you know, attraction and sexiness. And we're not just talking physical sexiness.
No.
I mean, that's a good thing. We want
that
in life, right?
Yeah.
But we also have that spiritual sexiness, that energy, that vibration.
Yep.
Really is the whole package, because we all know people who are like hot, right? Like, oh my God, look at that body.
Yes, we all appreciate eye candy. Let's just admit it. We all do.
And then we'll talk to the person and they seem a little empty.
Yeah.
And then sometimes we'll see someone who we are attracted to their energy and vibration, and they're not physically attractive really when you look at them from that perspective, but their energy, their vibration, and where they are as a person, they're so attractive.
Yeah.
We want everything about us to be healthy, no matter what it looks like on the outside per se.
Yep.
Our mind, body, spirit, as you said, that combination to be healthy in each area.
Mm-hmm.
So that we are allowing the universe, God, spirit, universe, to bring into our life people, things, abundance, whatever it can bring in, and we're ready for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And isn't that just the best feeling? Like when you finally get to this place where where you feel healthy in all aspects. Like it's no longer a self-punishment in one of those. The intention becomes different. The intention becomes actually supporting of the self, very loving, very kind. How can I treat this body kindly so that I have it for however long? So I feel good in it for however long in this lifetime. How do I keep my thoughts in check so that, so that I am vibrant, so that I am joyful? How do I keep these spiritual things? What do I need to do so that that feels alive? And when we have those things, man, like that's the trifecta right there.
What came to mind just now is when we talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And, the pinnacle is self-actualization. And we sometimes talk about, well, I don't know, can a human being ever get there? And I think when we're truly working on mind, body, spirit, and we're truly being that authentic, vulnerable self, we probably are getting closer to that than we ever thought we could.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't it funny? Because we reach outwardly to try to heal, to try to become more spiritual, and it's actually not going outward, it's going deeper. You have to go inward and go deeper in order to expand, in order to get that expansiveness. It's really kind of interesting when you realize that.
And that can be the scariest part for anyone.
Yeah, which I'm sure we're all going to get into in our shows, right? That's the juicy stuff right there.
Let me ask you a final question about your show. What would you like your impact to be in the audience?
Whew, that's a really, really good one. We are in a world right now where we see a lot of hurt. And I think I can feel tears coming already. So yeah, this is truth coming out right here. I think that it's a bigger expression of individual wounded people. Hurt people hurt people. And it doesn't have to be a mass. Think about that. What I said to my family member that hurt, that created a wound. Well, as we can start to tune inward, we can start to heal those spaces within ourselves. And that's why I really want to hit this generation, particularly of women, because I feel like women are the ones who have strong impact in their own families, in their own immediate communities. And as women can heal the heart space and heal those heart wounds, then we hold the space for men to be able to express their heart wounds. And it's in a gentleness, it's in the feminine energy, the divine feminine, which is receptive. It's not in that hit it hard, fight back energy. It's in that inviting, when I go inward and can tune into my heart space and examine my own self, capital S, the whole self, and deal with those things inside of me. It takes practice, it takes confidence, it takes trust, but you have the power to do it too. And I think ultimately what I hope that becomes a ripple effect from this show is that as people examine themselves, even in the smallest degree, as people start to take action and responsibility in their own lives and start to heal those small wounds in their own lives, that it creates a wave, this tidal wave effect, and we can switch some of this hurt that is in a global, in our global space.
Well, and I think that exactly what you said is starting with women. Women are more receptive now than they ever have been because we have so many ways to reach out to them. We were talking about women and the divine feminine helping men to heal. That, what came to mind is one of my favorite quotes by the Dalai Lama, and you provided me with a reason to share.
Share it. Awesome.
I love to share this, and I truly believe in it, and I think it's also why I work with women, and one of the reasons that we have a global reach with Global Voice Radio is the Dalai Lama stated, the world will be saved by the Western woman. We have the ability and capability, in the Western world, right? Because there's a lot of women in third world countries in the Eastern world that do not have the rights that we do not have safety to have a voice. And we have that. And part of what you just said is one of the impacts that you want to have on your audience is to share your voice and your support in a way that allows them to heal themselves, and that ripple effect. Women truly can save the world. We have so much emotional intelligence. We have so much financial and buying power across the world.
Yep.
We really, which now that I say this, people might stop us from doing it. If women really came together and we really used all of our strengths and power,
we're unstoppable.
Yeah, we would totally change the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And I believe that, you said that we have these rights. It's true, which means we also have the responsibility. Yes. It is our duty, and it is our responsibility to roll up our sleeves, get dirty, and get after it.
Right. And the more women and men that we are able to heal and bring with us and have like-minded individuals working on this. And it's not easy. I mean, where we are today, we both had our trials and tribulations, and other people we know who are on similar paths have had their trial and tribulation. So sometimes it's easier to say, I'm just not going there. I'm not digging anymore, and I'm not healing anymore. I don't want any more of that, the trifecta connection.
Yeah.
But then when you come outside of it, look at the people that we know in ourselves of where we're going and what we're doing.
Right.
So yes, you bringing that to your audience is one of the most wonderful things that could be happening today for women and men around the world.
Thank you.
So I hope all of you will tune in and listen to Holly Wade, the host of Living from the Inside Out, and her show will be airing on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. So connect with Holly on Facebook at Holly Wade, and also at hollywadewellness.com. And we will be providing links to her shows. If you can't watch her on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, you will have opportunities to listen to her show anytime that it fits into your schedule. So Holly, I'm so excited that you're a host with Global Voice Radio, and I look forward to hearing your shows and seeing the impact that you have on women and men around the world.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us at Living from the Inside Out. Listen every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. To connect with Holly, just go to www.globalvoiceradio.com. Global Voice Radio is where your voice and your message is heard.